On this prequel episode, we're doing our Christmas with the Kranks fan poll follow-up and revealing which Disney movie you voted for the next episode. Well, welcome back to this Film is Lit, the podcast where we talk about movies that are based on books. Took a week off, talked about Star Wars. If you haven't listened to that, go back one episode in your feed. It should be there. Get all of our feelings about that film. We have a prequel episode, though, this week. Before we get to our follow-up poll about Christmas with the Kranks, we got a fair amount of comments and stuff on this one, so we'll be sharing some of that. We have new patrons to recognize. The first one, Sam Denow, which is a name I recognize from a lot of podcasts I listen to, and is a supporter of many of those. He is at the Hugo Award winner level. He or she is at the Hugo Award winner level. And then the other new patron we got this week was the Mad Morgan, or just Mad Morgan, who's also a Hugo Award winner, which is our $5 level, which allows you to get access to the bonus content, including recently we just put out our discussion on The Witcher and The Mandalorian, first full seasons. So they got to listen to those. We also have our Academy Award winners. These are Hall of Fame patrons who support us for $15 a month. They get priority recommendations, which is why we did Christmas with the Kranks. I don't remember who suggested it, but one of these people did.
Yeah.
And they get mentioned every week in our prequel episode. I'll let you take this one. Who is that person that I always butcher the name of?
I always butcher the name too. That's not fair. Alina Deletkulova is my guess always for that one. It's pretty close, I think. That was thank you to Alina. And then our second Academy Award winner patron is Jamie Lee Curtis is cool. So this is our patron who changes their name for everything every week, which I really appreciate and enjoy. And you're right, Jamie Lee Curtis is cool. And finally, Mr. Nobody is our final $15 patron. All right, let's go ahead and move on and see what everybody had to say about Christmas with the Kranks. So we didn't do an official poll
right
for this one. I didn't make polls on Facebook and Twitter like I usually do. And I did that because I figured probably not a lot of people had read the book. Also, both of these things were just so monstrous to me. If you listened to the episode, you knew that I didn't even want to choose. Couldn't choose. Did not select which one was better because I thought they were both equally bad. So I just put out posts asking people if they had opinions on the book or the movie or both of them and how they related to each other, if they'd both read it and seen it. We got quite a few comments, especially over on Facebook. Now, this is a disclaimer. I'm not going to read every single person's comments in full because we got a lot of really long comments, which was great. They were really interesting. And a lot of people commented with how they felt the movie could have been fixed or done better, which I really enjoyed. But I've got I did some poll quotes. I have a highlight reel
from
here.
Everybody's comments.
Yeah. So on Facebook, Matt said, "My mom watches this air quote thing every Christmas. I felt for you two when you announced it. On behalf of humanity, I apologize." Thank you for your apology, Matt. That does help.
Yeah.
Goldie said, "My vote is for the book because I can't stop thinking about that slobbery fruit salad falling out of Tim Allen's mouth. The book may have been problematic, but it didn't traumatize me."
There you go. Fair enough.
Ian said, "Everyone deserves one bad film, but there should have been limits. I understand that authors may want to break away from their usual writings to branch out into something different, but Grisham should have stuck with his courtroom dramas." I've never read another John Grisham book, but just based on skipping Christmas, I'm going to go ahead and agree with that. Yeah. Jennifer said, "I can't even with either of these. I feel like there's a good idea in there that needed to be executed way better." Yeah,
for sure.
And then Daryl said something similar. "As terrible as the movie is, and good Lord, it is painful to watch, what kills me is that there is a good or at least passable film in there." And I would agree with both of those.
That's kind of what we mentioned.
Yeah,
that if they had changed the way they did it.
Yeah, if they had done some different things and maybe made things a little clearer, it could have been
thematically, change it to a story about the absurdity of the weird traditions that are enforced upon, that as a part of a community, you're kind of forced to take part in and kind of lean into the culty aspect of it, and how it can be kind of strange and overly stressful and ridiculous to always, do all of the trappings that come with like Christmas, and to turn it into a story about, what actually matters. And basically, like we said, the Grinch.
Yeah. But yeah, I think if they had done some different stuff, there could have been a good or at least okay movie.
Yeah.
But no.
And
then over on Twitter, we got a thread from Shelby Suderman, who had both read the book and watched the movie. And a lot of Shelby's comments were, again, about maybe ways that the movie could have been improved, ways that it was different from the book. I'm just going to read one little thing here. I felt like the framing was different between book and movie, with the book thinking the people around the Kranks were being unreasonable, while the movie thinks the Kranks are being unreasonable, which added an unpleasant layer to it that I didn't get from the book. What frustrates me is I think this story could have explored how difficult life changes affect how people deal with big holidays, which I think would have been an interesting approach, too.
And they touch on it, but it doesn't ever follow through, really, necessarily. Because she just comes back, and then they just have a happy Christmas, at least in the movie.
Right. And while, like, the idea that, like, oh, we don't want to celebrate Christmas because our daughter's not here isn't really, like, a focus. It's just the inciting incident. It's the reason. And they don't ever really, like, thematically go back to that idea.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Great comments from everybody. Thank you to everybody who hopped on one of the social media platforms and sent us a comment. It's always appreciated, and we love hearing from you. Let's move on and talk about The Rescuers book facts. Oh, I guess we should announce before we get to that, we're doing The Rescuers. It won.
It was very, very close between The Rescuers and 101 Dalmatians.
Yeah.
The Rescuers won out by exactly 2 votes. Poor Bambi did not stand a chance.
No, it got a lot more votes on Twitter, though, than, one person voted for it on Facebook, but there was, a few, at least, on Twitter, I thought.
Yeah, which is it's interesting, but, rip Bambi. Never had a shot.
No.
So, we're going to be doing The Rescuers. I've got some book facts. I'm hoping that most of the people who voted for The Rescuers weren't confused and thinking that we're going to be talking about The Rescuers Down Under.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, the more popular...
Potentially more popular,
Rescuers.
Yeah. I mean, I think it may be. I don't know.
Movie?
I have no idea if it's more popular, but...
I think it's maybe remembered a little bit more fondly by, people our age.
Yeah.
Because it came out closer to... it came out when we were kids.
Right.
But we are doing... the 1970s Rescuers, the first one.
Yep.
I don't think The Rescuers Down Under has a direct, equivalent in the books. So
I have no idea.
I don't think it does.
All right. Well, now that we've announced it, let's go ahead and talk about the book.
At last, after 4 years in production, comes the crowning achievement in Disney animation and storytelling. The Rescuers.
Look out! Here she comes!
A bold new adventure.
Where is she? Where is she?
You get down there and find the big diamond, or you will never see that Teddy again.
That poor little girl.
So The Rescuers is actually a series of 9 children's books by English author Marjorie Sharp. The first book in the series was published in 1959. And the Disney film most notably pulls from Miss Bianca, which is book 2, with elements from The Rescuers, which is book 1.
Okay.
So I'm going to be reading those 2 books.
Are they long, or how?
I don't think they're particularly long. I'll be reading those 2. So again, this is one of those episodes that's going to come with a caveat of this didn't happen in these particular books, but there's a chance it's from one of the other 7.
Yeah.
I don't even know if I could get access to all 7 books.
No,
I don't think they're 9 in print anymore.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, no, it'll be fine.
Yeah.
That's what I saw too in my notes. Yeah. My research is that it's mostly from the first 2.
Other fun facts: the series was primarily illustrated by Garth Williams, whose illustrations readers might recognize from other children's classics like Charlotte's Web. and Stuart Little. Marjorie Sharp had primarily written for adults up to the point that The Rescuers was published. And interestingly, The Rescuers was actually initially intended for adults.
Huh.
I thought that was kind of interesting because usually you don't get like talking animal adventure stories for grown-ups. But it was so popular with kids that she continued it as a series specifically intended for children, and then went on to write 4 other children's books in addition to the other 8 in that series.
Interesting.
When the book was published, Kirkus Reviews described it as an absurd and beguiling fantasy that was made to order for Walt Disney, but a strange departure for Marjorie Sharp. So I've never read anything by her, but I'm guessing it's not anything like her other adult novels, just based on that.
Interesting.
In his 1997 collection of essays on children's literature, Noel Perrin noted that the book is very different from, and in his opinion, superior to, the movie. Commending the book for its inventive plot and for the ease and freedom, elegance, and irony of Sharp's writing.
Oh, all right.
I know. And then in 2011, a decade after The Rescuers went out of print, the book was reissued in a new edition by the New York Review of Books. Reviewer Megan Cox of the Wall Street Journal noted that the book is much funnier and more interestingly textured than the high fructose movie version. So we're really like selling this book.
Apparently.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
I hope it doesn't let me down.
Yeah, cool. All right, that was some fun facts about the Rescuers book series, I guess. Let's go ahead and talk about the movie.
Meet a cast of captivating new Disney characters.
This emergency meeting of the International Rescue Aid Society is now in session. As you know, our society has never failed to answer a call for help.
Oh, Mr. Chairman, please may I have this assignment?
Bernard and Bianca, 2 secret agents on a date with destiny.
The Rescuers is a 1977 animated film from Walt Disney Productions. It is the 23rd Disney animated feature. It stars Bob Newhart, Ava Gabor, and Geraldine Page, among other people. Originally, it was entered into development in 1962, so only a few years after the first book came out. But Walt shelved it because he didn't like its overt political overtones. And now I have not seen this movie in a long time, and I don't remember what those would be, or if the movie never got, or if they aren't in the movie because they took them out, or I don't know.
Yeah, maybe I'm sure the movie is less political than the book is.
Yeah.
The only thing that I can think is that the mice are kind of sort of like a UN.
Interesting.
That like the organization that the mice are in.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's like a UN type of thing, United Nations type of thing. But
well, we'll see. When you read the book, keep that in mind, what political overtones.
I'll be on the lookout for the political overtones.
It was revived in the 70s, though, when they signed it to like the B crew level of animators, which at the time were led by Don Bluth. But eventually, when it was handed over to like the main animating crew after they finished Robin Hood, and it almost wasn't made though because 2 movies were in like pre-production, and they could have picked either one to make. The one that eventually was picked and created was The Rescuers, but the other one sounded really interesting. I'm sad they never made it, or never did anything with it. It was called Scruffy, and it was an adaptation of a Paul Gallico book. I've never heard of Paul Gallico, but it was about the monkeys of Gibraltar being threatened by Nazis trying to capture them during World War II. Which
if we want to talk about political overtones.
Thought it sounded very interesting, but they didn't end up making
I've never
Scruffy.
Heard of that.
They ended up making The Rescuers. So, Cruella de Vil. So this is our 101 Dalmatians tie-in here. Cruella de Vil was originally considered to be the big bad of this movie, of the adventures. And it was going to turn it into essentially like a sequel of 101 Dalmatians, or like set in the same universe. It would have been the Rescuers cinematic universe or whatever. I guess is kind of the idea.
Wouldn't that make it the Cruella de Vil cinematic universe?
Yeah, or whatever. Yeah, the Dalmatian, whatever. But apparently that was the original thought, but then they decided against it because they didn't want it to be like a sequel.
I get that. That would have actually been really interesting, though, because I don't know if you remember anything about the 101 Dalmatians.
No.
But there's like an animal organization in that too.
Is there?
Where like the Twilight bark and all the dogs like spread news about the puppies being kidnapped, so they can all like be on the lookout for them. Yeah. So that could have been like an interesting, I don't know.
Yeah.
That's also interesting because I know I have seen like side-by-side clips of Cruella de Vil and the villain from this movie where they like borrowed animation.
Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me. They apparently, and I was going to put this down, but I didn't end up. The villain in this movie was based off of one of the animator's ex-wives or current wife or something. Something weird that he didn't. It was an ex-wife that he didn't like. And he like animated the whole thing. But maybe reused animation from Cruella de Vil. And then my final note, which I thought was interesting, I hadn't heard this or didn't know about this, is that there was controversy when the movie was released for the second time on home video. Disney had to recall about 3 million copies of the film because there was an objectionable image in 2 frames of the movie. It was impossible to see these like in film when it's projected at film at like 24 frames per second. It was so quick that and the motion blur or whatever, you just wasn't really noticeable. But on home video release, you were able to see it, and it's you could make it out. It's a naked woman in a window behind the rescuers as they're like traveling down. I don't remember exactly what's going on. If you go to Wikipedia, you can actually see it on the Wikipedia article. They have a still frame of it. Of the little picture. Yeah, it's just a naked woman in a window. And so they had to recall 3 million. And Disney did an investigation but declined to explain how this ended up making it into the film. It happened during the post-production process. But it's never been, there's not like at least I didn't see a story about like who did it or why or if somebody got fired or what happened with it. So, well,
I guess did they like not know about it?
Apparently, they didn't know about it until they put it. Well, like so, it's probably some animator who knew it wouldn't.
Yeah, nobody would catch it.
Nobody would catch it, just kind of being like troll.
But then here comes home video.
Here comes home video, and they're able to pause
ruin your day.
Yeah, look at the frame by frame or whatever. So they were able to see it, and had to be
interesting
removed. So if you watch it now, you can. I think it's just like an empty window or something. But anyways,
I wonder if any of the VHS... I think my mom might have a couple copies of this on VHS. I wonder if any of them still are old enough to have that.
I don't know if you could even really see it. It's literally supposedly 2 frames. Even on video, you would have to like really be watching to catch it.
Yeah, you would have to be like clicking it along frame by frame, I would think.
But you can't do that with VHS.
But you can like
not so well
slow-mo, can't you?
Yeah, depending on the VHS, but it's not. It depends. It's tough. It's not like certain other mediums you can go for. Right. Like if it was like Laserdisc, you could go frame by frame.
I wonder how somebody even. I don't know. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
But I thought it was interesting. So if you want to look, like I said, if you want to see the picture, it's on Wikipedia. That's where I found it. So cool. All right, that was our preview of The Rescuers. You can come back in 1 week's time. We'll be talking about breaking down the differences between The Rescuers, and I don't know if it's on Disney Plus probably.
Yes, it is.
There you go. If you got Disney Plus, if you've been watching The Mandalorian or whatever, you can go ahead and watch The Rescuers. It's easy. So now whenever we do Disney movies, it's easy to tell people where to go to watch.
If not, we suggest that you support your local library. If you have a VCR, you could also try your local Goodwill.
Yeah.
See if you can find a VHS
the old version
copy
with the naked woman in the window. You never know.
I don't know if it's like out of the vault right now, so I don't know if you could like go buy a DVD copy of it or a Blu-ray, but
yeah, I have no idea. But yeah, go support your local library. All right, that's gonna do it. Until next time, guys, gals, I'm Bonnie and everybody else.
Keep reading books.
Keep watching movies.
And keep being awesome.